You want to do the press conference? You can stand here and talk about what we have on the committee of the whole. I've been too quiet. I said, you want to do the press conference? You can stand. Committee of the whole. Why don't we get started? This is the press conference that I have before legislative meeting, and tomorrow, June 11th, will be, what will it be? It'll be the 25th legislative meeting of Council Period 25. We will have a committee of the whole before that. At the committee of the whole, there will be 21 resolutions for consideration. Five are coming out of the committee of the whole, so they'll be marked up. And the other 16 are coming from other committees, having already been marked up, to the Housing Finance Agency, the Commission on Health Equity, Board of Medicine, Board of Podiatry, Board of Dentistry, the Housing Production Trust Fund Board. The resolutions being marked up in the committee of the whole are 4 to the Commission on Arts and Humanities. The mayor is nominated for reappointment 4 members. The board this June 30th will reduce in size from 14 to 12. And with these 4 reappointments, thanks, the board will be at full strength. And then the committee of the whole is marking up a resolution from the mayor to confirm her nomination of Gabrielle Miller, who will be new to the Historic Preservation Review Board. So that's the committee of the whole. That will be followed by the legislative meeting. The legislative meeting for final reading will be the unlawful restrictions in land records. That's dealing with the enabling property owners who have a restrictive covenant, such as a racial or religious covenant that is unenforceable, that this will be an ability for them to remove that from title to their title, and also deals with covenants that predate the zoning ordinance that limit multifamily apartment buildings. The genesis for this comes out of Chevy Chase, DC, the controversy around the government property there, where there's a covenant on part of the land that says there can't be apartment buildings. The way the legislation is written, if the covenant deals with apartment buildings and conflicts with zoning and it predates the zoning act, then it's not enforceable. So that has citywide applicability. I need to stress that. It's a citywide policy that's in this legislation. The most everything is on the consent agenda. What isn't is some emergency legislation, all of which I believe is simply renewing emergency bills that had previously been adopted, such as DC Water Critical Infrastructure Freedom of Information, Walter Reed Development Assistance Emergency. There is on the legislative agenda a motion to reconsider a temporary bill for secure DC. It's on the agenda for reconsideration because it's not necessary, just in case anybody's wondering. There was a second emergency that was adopted because the permanent is pending on the Hill. It's not necessary to do another temporary. So if that raised any eyebrows, there should not be eyebrows around that. I'm not prepared to talk about the budget. That doesn't mean you can't try with questions. We have a legislative meeting on Wednesday, and we will be circulating by noon tomorrow a amendment nature of a substitute regarding the budget. This would be the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2024, the current year. Supplemental is the same as revised. So that has not been voted on yet. And then the final reading on the fiscal year 2025 Local Budget Act. So those 2 measures on Wednesday. If you're wondering about the Budget Support Act, it's not ready. I knew it wasn't going to be ready. I've said all along, I thought it would be on the 18th. It might be the 25th, just because the document has grown substantially. Are you with the press? Okay, why don't you wait? This is a press conference.
That without action, people are going to die on the streets because of this budget. Will you fund housing vouchers in our community needs at the vote on Wednesday?
There will be some,
Measures. Most effective ways.
thank you for disrupting the meeting. Questions from anyone? Yes, Jeanette,
So, first off, your volume is not loud enough.
or maybe I'm just not talking. loud.
Secondly, you said you are not prepared to discuss the budget. Is it the 2024 budget you're not prepared to discuss or the 2025 budget?
I said I'd be happy to take questions. We'll see what I will answer.
Okay,
We're circulating tomorrow before noon. And so that's when I'll be in a position to talk about the details.
you're circulating a substitute.
Yes,
Okay, and
for
so
both measures,
over
both
the
the supplemental
last,
and the
what
permanent.
has it been, a week or two? Can you give us some idea of what the discussions have been? There was obviously some concern with some of the members who wanted to continue to raise taxes and continue to spend more money than the city has. Is that likely, are those issues likely to be included in the budget? That is, more taxes and more spending?
I'm not proposing any additional taxes or any changes to the changes as it increases to the tax proposals that were adopted on first reading. And that would include the supplemental as well. The reason why I can't get into a lot of details is because we just have not finalized the documents. As of yesterday afternoon, we did not have a financial plan from the chief financial officer. If that sounds like I mean that as a criticism, I don't. I've not checked with our budget staff whether we have the financial plan yet. So we think we're balanced, but until we have the financial plan, I don't know for sure that we're balanced.
Well, and how do you, I mean, you think you're balanced, but so that you have some idea of whether
Correct.
there
have
is
some
going to
idea.
be additional taxes.
I'm not proposing any changes to the taxes.
You, are there, are there likely to be amendments from the members related to tax increases that I'm sure you know who's gonna, I mean, you have some idea of who's gonna introduce an amendment to your amendment in that includes tax increases, that includes additional spending. Regardless of what you're going to do, you know who's going to do what or who's talking about doing what. Can you share that?
I have talked with a number of the members. I do not have a sense in my conversations that there will be amendments regarding taxes on Wednesday. And members who are thinking about amendments regarding taxes have to go through the budget office. The budget office, because it works for the entire council, does not share that information with me. So as I am standing here, I am unaware of any amendments and I am not proposing any. Darth,
Could I ask you about an appointment that is not on the agenda this week? Several months ago, the mayor nominated James Boggs to one of the three seats on the DC Board of Elections. This morning, I found in Legislative Services that the mayor has pulled his nomination. Do you know what the backstory is to that?
I don't know for sure, but I think I just signed a reintroduction of that, which if that's correct, then that would suggest that the time period for council consideration was nearing expiration, and so it was withdrawn and resubmitted. Beyond that, I don't know.
The reason I'm asking is because he was put on the Board of Elections without a confirmation hearing by Mr. Allen, which I thought was rather unusual and extraordinary. So he was currently a member of the board without a confirmation hearing from when he was nominated last year. Now, Ms. Bonds had a confirmation hearing for him several months ago, and the nomination hasn't moved. You haven't heard that there's some problem that has arisen with his
I
nomination?
don't know anything more. Yes. Just a minute, there's a question over here.
Hey, Chairman. So I saw, oh, no, go ahead, Sam.
All right, okay. All right, my man.
Gentlemen, don't fight over the microphone.
This is in regards to the Road Act and that was introduced by Attorney General Swab.
Yes.
I wanted to get your thoughts on it, seeing as though DYRS has been part of the conversation lately between Auditor Kathleen Patterson and even the mayor weighing in about whether to improve it or not to improve it. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that legislation. Does it go far enough in holding DYRS more accountable to the youth residents, or would you add more to it?
I have not looked closely at the bill, so I can't give you an opinion on that. The bill was sequentially referred first to the Committee on Recreation, Youth and Library Affairs, RYLA. And then it comes to the Committee of the Whole. So as it goes through the hearing process, I will become aware of where there are concerns or objections or that there are none from the community. So until then,
My understanding was that all but one portion was referred to the Committee of the Whole.
I think it was sequential. I think the referral was just sequential.
Okay.
I don't recall that certain sections were referred to Councilmember White's committee and then the rest of the Committee of the Whole. There's a bill that the mayor introduced concerning, among other things, truancy, that the referral of one section, I believe, was to Committee on Judiciary and the entire bill to the Committee of the Whole. But this, I think, was the entire bill to, first to RYLA and then to the Committee of the Whole. Blaine, is that correct?
All right, appreciate it.
A couple,
Do you-
uh,
No, sir, this is a press conference. I'm not sure why you think it's productive to be disruptive to the press conference. I'm not quite getting that.
I have a couple questions
Yes.
about changes you made to the mayor's budget. So I thought there was funding. Okay, I saw there was funding for a reparations task force or to get that going, but I
Uh,
didn't see in the BSA the Councilmember McDuffie's bill to stand that up mentioned in the BSA. So it looked like there was funding, but that bill hadn't passed yet.
Yeah, I'm not, the Committee on Business and Economic Development chaired by Councilman McDuffie in its committee markup on the budget, put money in for reparations task force. There is separate legislation in his committee, which he is able to move, and then that would be funded. So that's, I think the way that's working is
Okay.
that, and I would try to keep that out of the BSA. That's the kind of thing where if there's a bill freestanding, it's better for it to come out of the committee instead of being put in the Budget Support Act. And, but the funding is there for it.
Okay, thanks. Wanted to clarify that. And then same with the Poverty Commission, you made some moves. The mayor looked to defund that, I believe, and you added one staffer back at least to have an executive.
Yes, that was
Can you-
again, came out of committee.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can't remember which committee and,
Yes, Anita Bonds' committee.
okay, Councilmember Bonds. Yeah, that was, so as you know, all the committees had hearings during the month of April, then they marked up, they were recommendations to the full Committee of the Whole. Because I chair the full Committee of the Whole, I'm the one who stands before you and say, this is what I have or don't have in the, what's being presented. So that was a change that I did not make, meaning that what the council member or the committee had reported out is still in the budget.
Right. But did you have thoughts on that move? Do you have thoughts on the Poverty Commission? I'm interested in your thoughts on their work.
No, I probably have lots of thoughts, but I think I'll keep them to myself.
Okay, I'll follow up with you on that. And then one more thing, there was another proponent of Security C that was, I believe, by Councilmember White to order the mayor's office to create a comprehensive public safety plan. Was that funded, if you're aware?
I don't think it was.
Okay,
I don't recall. I don't think it was.
okay, thank you.
You mentioned Secure DC. There was something either the mayor proposed or one of the committees proposed that implicated Title 24 of the code. Why does this matter? Because that has a 60-day review and we don't approve the BSA with a 60-day congressional approval period. So anything that deals with Titles 22, 23, 24, you would not find in the BSA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to the budget, if I may. There was some discussion with passage, during the passage of the first, initial approval regarding the sports wagering
Yeah.
bill that was being included in the BSA, but it's also included in the budget. As I recall, the funding for the baby bonds, which is linked to the sports wagering. Has there been any, given the fact that there were at least 4 members who were concerned about that legislation, has there been any discussion about pulling it and still finding money elsewhere for the baby bonds? Especially since I think the baby bonds is less than $7 million. For the, at least for
Yes.
for 2025.
So a couple of things. One, several members have talked to me about the sports wagering being included in these budget documents. The sports wagering provision that's in the Budget Support Act is integrally tied to the budget. I don't support pulling it out of the Budget Support Act. The sports wagering provision is tied to funding the baby bonds. And a reason for that is because the baby bonds program, which for the second year in a row, the mayor proposed to zero out, is more expensive than the dollar amount you noted. But we believe that the CFO's estimate is way understated. So to the extent that we're correct that the fiscal impact statement is understated, there will be more money, which means there'll be more money to fund the baby bond program, which was exactly what our intent was. So it's a very, I will say, convenient connection between the two. Fiscal impact, the revenues will be greater than the fiscal impact statement. What do we do if that happens? Well, we capture them to the baby bond program where we know that the need is greater than what we've budgeted.
I think that the controversy was also that you were about to take action on something, which is going to be my second question, by the way. You were about to take action on this sports wagering that could impact the potential revenues that were being generated by the FanDuel contract, which was an extension to a certain extent of the intralot lottery contract. Since then, FanDuel sent you a letter, as I understand it, Mr. Chairman, to indicate that if you take this action, you could, in fact, lose $15 million in revenue as a result. Have you responded to that letter?
I have not responded to the letter, and let me say this, that this is my 3rd or 4th time around with the issue of the lottery contract, sports betting, the sports betting arrangement. And what I have seen each time is that parties on each side emphasize, I'd even say overemphasize, how their position is far more profitable to the district and that the other side of the argument is far less profitable. And that's exactly what you're repeating here.
Well, I'm not actually repeating that. I'm saying that what they're saying, which is that if you adjust that contract and you put it out
lose
in
money.
and you put it out for anybody to do the mobile sports wagering that in fact you could lose. And that comes from the CFO's estimate, not from FanDuel. They are repeating something that was said by the office in the CFO.
Yeah, I stand by what I just said.
You stand by what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the
Each
second
side
thing.
likes to emphasize how the other side will lose money for the district.
Well, and so adjacent to that, if I may, just two more follow-ups, then I'm gonna shut up. Adjacent to that is some concern about what will happen to small businesses. Many of the small businesses have relationships under the existing contract, including businesses like Ben's Chili Bowl, Ben's next door. My understanding is that the Ali family is very concerned about this action that is being taken by the council that could in fact harm small business subcontractors.
Yes, I've heard that argument as well, and I've heard it argued both ways.
And so you have put no weight, have you had any conversations with small businesses? Have you had any conversations with the Ali family who specifically have said that and have been, I guess, I know I reported about them. Have you had any conversations with any small businesses, most of whom are African-American?
I think the conversations that are most meaningful are the conversations with those who've looked specifically at what the legislative language is and how they interpret it, rather than looking at the lobbyists.
Wait. So the second thing I wanted to ask is about this mansion tax. What is troubling, I think, about what the council is doing with this budget is that you're implementing legislation that, that has not even been presented to the public. I was asking who on the board, in the council actually held a hearing. Did you hold a hearing before you all decided that you were going to implement this tax, this quote mansion tax, property tax, a property tax increase, and got no input from any property owners with respect to this? What did you do that? Did you hold a hearing? Did I miss it?
The proposition has been circulating for several years. The Tax Revision Commission looked at it more specifically with some expert testimony or analysis. And the Tax Revision Commission, in its draft documents, was considering a split residential property tax that would be based on a higher rate for properties of $2 million or more and a rate of $1.20. What is in the council's documents is a value over 2.5 million, not 2 million, and a rate of $1, not $1.20.
I'm aware of that, but the question I asked was, did you hold a hearing? And do you intend to hold a hearing even after the fact? Do you intend to give property owners, residential property owners, an opportunity to weigh this? The tax commission.
It's a simple question, then
Well,
the question is, have we had a hearing? No,
Okay, thank you.
but I think you knew that answer. I guess there's a difference between a fact and a fact. Ma'am, are you a reporter? Okay, and it looks like you're about to read a statement. And this is a press conference, so that would not be appropriate. But thank you. Okay. I'm not quite sure why these disruptions are helpful here.
Both people have visited your office. Both people, how people were able to die, it's a moral issue. We ask that you do everything in your power to save our neighbors ahead of the second budget vote in 48 hours.
Alex,
I
as I
wanted to follow
recall
up.
the one.
I wanted to ask about sports betting, following up on some of these questions. I know Zach Parker, brought up a lot of concerns at the council hearing. I hear he may be making calls about some sort of alternative plan. Have you spoken with him about that yet?
I've had several conversations with Councilmember Parker.
And, is there a compromise to be had here? I know he's raising many of the similar concerns about small businesses.
Um, I am going forward with, on second reading, what we proposed at first reading.
Okay. And when, we spoke about the budget at first, you mentioned you were working on something for rapid rehousing, but weren't really sure what form that would take. Have you made any progress there?
The short answer, have we made any progress with rapid rehousing? The short answer is no. I think the council was handed a choice of two very bad options, which is the mayor's proposal or reject the mayor's proposal and find, if I remember correctly, something north of $100 million. As I said, those are both very poor options. And remember, the mayor submitted a budget that was balanced. The budget that we approved at first reading was balanced. It's not like there's $100 million out there or 120 million, whatever the figure is. To me, what's most exasperating is why are we at a point where 2,200 families, might be 2,400, have been sent exit notices, basically saying we're discontinuing you from the program and you're now on your own, which is the first step toward probable eviction for some or many of those families. And that's horrible. And when I've discussed some options like, well, maybe the Department of Human Services has been a bit too, I'll say, careless about just allowing more and more and more and more families coming into the rapid rehousing program, not providing any case management or minimal case management, and certainly not doing any exit planning, that maybe that pipeline should just close. To which then the department says, well, then the shelters are going to overflow and we're going to start putting people into hotels. I will say, well, I think hotels are a very undesirable option, that I think that hotels are not, it's hard to say that that's a worse alternative than evicting somebody. And so I think that the situation that we've been handed is a mess. And it's not clear to me that the executive has figured out how to sort its way out of that. I am aware that there's some efforts to identify vouchers for families exiting rapid rehousing. That should help somewhat. And I don't know that I can add more there. Yes, there will be, I believe, some subtitle language tomorrow or Wednesday dealing with rapid rehousing, but it's not going to be earth shattering. I will add this. You're reminding me, if I'm good, I'm going to have a little speech on Wednesday about shortcomings in the budget that we were given. Why is it that we were given a subtitle regarding rapid rehousing that arguably violated the Constitution by depriving individuals of due process? And since we caught that, I will say thanks to many of the advocates, to fix that problem, guess what? We're going to have to find some money to provide due process. This is not something that should be an, we forgot about that, but that's included in the budget that we were given that we'll have to fix.
So just last thing, do you expect you'll be able to add any vouchers beyond the ones like you included in the revised
I
budget?
think the best I can say on Monday at 11:15 is we're trying.
Okay.
I know. Maybe last question, last two questions. Tim.
Could I get some clarity around the Sunset Commission? I hope that I'm saying it right. The two entities that will go over the budget to find possible cost savings, and the other entity that will look at what programs no longer have any use that can possibly be
Yeah.
cut.
I'm not proposing at this point that there would be a creation of a sunset commission or an expenditure commission. We've looked at both. I've had a number of conversations with Councilmember Robert White, and I want to thank him for his energy around this issue. I share absolutely his view that we need to be doing more to get ahead of expenditures. This is crazy that our expenditures just grow and grow and grow. The mayor's budget that she proposed, I will emphasize, she proposed that she submitted was $1 billion more than the budget for the current year. That's a huge increase. That's, help me here, a 5% increase from 20 billion to 21 billion. And there just doesn't seem to be, I would say there doesn't seem to be any, but maybe the correct way to put it, or the nice way to put it is sufficient energy effort on the executive to reduce the increase in costs. So we've looked at these measures, different proposals. What we're in working with Councilmember Robert White, we are building out expertise within the council's budget office, which serves the entire council, to look at, to develop more expertise and what I'll call a scalable effort to identify expenditure savings, as well as duplication, as well as ineffective programs. So this is going to be, this is going to take some time. It's not going to be savings this year, but I'm hopeful that we'll see something next year when we have the budget. Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm just trying to get a timeline around when that'll start. And as far as, bless you.
I'm going to say we're going to start it as soon as possible, although the funding for the FTE is, I believe, October 1st.
And how many FTEs?
At the moment, I can't remember. It's 1 or 2. I think it's 2.
Appreciate it.
Was hoping you could just talk about the adjustment to the criminal code commission.
Yes.
Was that from the committee? Is that something you were interested in re-adding? It was interesting to see that brought back from the dead.
I would say there was support across the council to continue the Criminal Code Reform Commission. The Committee on Judiciary identified, I'm going to say, roughly half the funding necessary. And in the Committee of the Whole markup 2 weeks ago, we found the rest of the funding. Let me say that there are folks who immediate reaction will be, well, the revised criminal code, some people think was a bad document. I don't agree, but in any event, it's already been written. So why would we still need this commission? There's a lot of ongoing work with regard to the criminal code and criminal provisions throughout the DC code. So the criminal code is Title 22, but you'll find provisions in Title 23, Title 24, Title 50, arguably even in Title 7, and Title 16, if I remember correctly. And none of that has been looked at. Plus, as you know, because you're a reporter, there are lots of bills introduced to deal with criminal provisions, new criminal provisions, revising criminal provisions, and the council would benefit very much from the expertise of the Criminal Code Reform Commission. Just to go back to the first part of my answer, you know, I remember before I testified on the Hill a year and a half ago, that one of the senator's staff person had been attacked, maybe robbed on H Street. And we looked at what the revised criminal code would have permitted in terms of sentencing and what the current law permits. And the difference was stark. And it was under the revised criminal code, much stronger penalties, heftier sentences under the revised criminal code. So, you know, the rhetoric around the revised criminal code was unfortunate because it was misinformed. There were many ways, many ways that the revision would result in stricter penalties for offenses.
Thank you.
You didn't ask for all that answer. Last question. I think they're kind of counterproductive. Thank you all very much. See you all tomorrow at 11 and see you all on Wednesday at noon.